Comcast, Time Warner Cable and Al Sharpton have been hit with a $20 billion lawsuit for racial discrimination. Media mogul Byron Allen filed the complaint alleging that Time Warner Cable and Comcast are making financial contributions to Sharpton's National Action Network and other civil rights organizations to cover up for their lack of diversity. Now, the suit reads, quote, Comcast has, in essence, created a Jim Crow process with respect to licensing channels from 100% African-American-owned media. Comcast has reserved a few spaces for 100% African-American-owned media in the back of the bus, while the rest of the bus is occupied by white-owned media companies. This is the epitome of racial discrimination in contracting. Well, Comcast shot back at the racial discrimination claims in a statement to The Hollywood Reporter, saying that, quote, we do not generally comment on pending litigation, but this complaint represents nothing more than a string of inflammatory, inaccurate, and unsupported allegations. Al Sharpton has called the lawsuit, quote, frivolous. Well, joining us now to discuss the suit is Byron Allen, founder of Entertainment Studios and the co-plaintiff in the lawsuit. So, Byron, thanks for being with us on HuffPost Live. So first and foremost, why $20 billion?
Well, real simple. The industry spends about $50 billion a year licensing cable networks, in which 100% African-American owned media receives less than $3 million per year in revenue from that $50 billion stream of money that is spent to acquire content. When you spend that kind of money to license cable networks, it creates market cap valuations on companies such as Scripps Network, which is publicly traded, has a market cap of 10+ billion. Discovery Network, publicly traded, has a market cap of approximately 25 billion. The Viacom cable portfolio of networks has a market cap of approximately 25 billion. And those market caps come from taking in revenue streams primarily from Comcast and Time Warner Cable. It creates generational wealth and market caps that do not exist in our community because they're able to pay people like Al Sharpton cover not to truly do business with 100% African-American owned media.
So, Byron, Comcast is home, of course, to Sean Combs' Revolt TV and Magic Johnson's Aspire TV, as well as other African-American owned networks. Now, they released a statement saying, quote, we are proud of our outstanding record supporting and fostering diverse programming, including programming from African-American owned and controlled cable channels. We currently carry more than 100 networks geared toward diverse audiences, including multiple networks owned or controlled by minorities. So, Byron, what do you say to that?
Well, I have a lot of love and appreciation for P. Diddy and Magic. But if you really look at Aspire is controlled by Leo Hendry, and Leo Hendry is not black. They don't pay Aspire any sub fees. Aspire is free. P. Diddy's network, Revolt, is controlled by a private equity firm called Highbridge Capital. The person who runs Highbridge Capital is a former Comcast executive named Payne Brown. Highbridge Capital is owned by J.P. Morgan. On the board of J.P. Morgan is Steve Burke, the number 2 executive at Comcast. The real ownership of these entities will come out in the lawsuit. We're going to get into what is truly 100% black-owned and not a situation where you have black celebrities and there's white ownership. They're not the real ownership. We're going to get into what the paperwork says.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Al Sharpton here. In full disclosure, I've appeared as a guest on Politics Nation, which is Al Sharpton's MSNBC show. What do you say that Al Sharpton's guilty of, and why is he named in particular in this suit?
Well, Al Sharpton takes donations from them and really gives nothing in return other than cover. As you see, if everyone Googles the New York Post article where they talk about how Al Sharpton is taking donations from corporations not to call them racist, and if you look at those corporations that pay him, they're not doing business with 100% African-American owned media. Now, let's look at the situation of AT&T. AT&T paid more money to throw Al Sharpton a lavish 60th birthday than they spend on Ebony Magazine. $30,000 a year is what AT&T spends on Ebony Magazine, which is a magazine that's been around for 70 years. Why do you give Al Sharpton more money than you give Ebony magazine or Stevie Wonder's radio station here in Los Angeles on KJLH. And what you see is a blatant pattern of he is the least expensive Negro. Instead of spending real money with real 100% African-American owned media, it is easier to give him $50,000 to give them cover.
Byron, you also embroiled President Obama in all of this as well. What did you say about the president in relation to Al Sharpton?
Well, first of all, Al Sharpton, why he has access and why people believe that he speaks for black people is racist in itself. Black people don't need a black person to speak for them. We speak for ourselves. Al Sharpton doesn't speak for me. And the reason why I called out Obama is because Obama, he allowed the biggest media merger in the history of humankind, and true 100% African-American owned media is not included. President Obama promised us transparency, hope, and change. And what happened in the Obama administration is former Commissioner Meredith Atwell Baker voted for the merger of Comcast NBCU, and then 90 days later took a much higher paying job with Comcast after granting them the merger. That was betraying the public's trust as a public servant. And so she's named in the lawsuit. President Obama, his biggest contributors are Comcast from the state of Pennsylvania. No one's given Comcast more money than, no one's given Obama more money than Comcast. President Obama has been bought and paid for. This is all price fixing, collusions, and payoff. So 100% African-American owned media is truly not participating. President Obama controls over $2 billion in advertising. Join the Army, join the Navy, U.S. Postal System, Drug-Free America. 100% African-American owned media is not participating in that.
Well, I mean, I should say that we did reach out to the NAACP, the National Urban League, and of course, Al Sharpton's nonprofit organization, National Action Network. They were unable to get back to us at this time, but we will certainly follow up on this story for a comment. But Byron, for now, thank you very much for joining us on HuffPost Live.